Hello and welcome to the 39th episode of The Real List, a podcast about our real list. I'm your host Ellis.
And I'm your host, Gloria.
And today we have a selection from you technically, but before we get to that, there are trading cards currently on sale, Steam Locomotive trading cards. I don't know how you would manage to watch this channel and not the other one. Like if this is the first you're hearing about it, I'm impressed. But either way, there'll be a link to that in the description. Kickstarter, we're like 75% of the way through the Kickstarter. You've got another 2 weeks.
Buy trading cards.
Buy trading cards. Diesel, steam locomotive, or diesel, singular, steam locomotives. We've got games that go with them. This is just for the people that happen to stumble across this podcast specifically and don't know anything else that goes on around here. Anyway, yeah, so this is Beetlejuice. But this isn't just the 1988 Tim Burton movie. This is also
Beetlejuice the musical.
Yeah, the 1918. Sorry, 1918. The 2018. Yeah, 100 years ago. Damn. The 2018 musical by a few people. Eddie Prefect did the lyrics.
Isn't that perfect? Not perfect.
Oh, perfect. You know what? You know what trips me up? Ford Prefect from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Every time I read someone whose last name is Perfect, I think Prefect instead. It doesn't say who specifically adapted it. I'm actually kind of at a loss here. I tried to read through this. Yeah, the following reading with Christopher Fitzgerald in the title role. Yeah, for Australian musical comedian Eddie Perfect would be writing the music and lyrics, and Scott Brown and Anthony King would be writing the book of the musical. Okay. And another reading would take place in May. Blah, blah, blah. That is a really obnoxious way to write that paragraph. But point is, we went to see this musical. We didn't actually watch the movie because we've watched it enough, and I don't have a disk drive on my laptop. This is way late because we were on vacation.
Yes. So I like how there's differences between the movie and the musical.
Substantial differences.
Substantial differences. Like, you don't see the funeral of Lydia's mother die. Like, you don't see the funeral for Lydia's mother. In the play you see that. That's the opening act.
That is the opening. Yeah.
That's the opening
moment, scene,
that's
song.
That's the opening scene. But in the movie, it's. You have Barbara and Adam in their house, and it gives shows the house, it shows them going into town, and then it shows them dying.
Yeah.
You get what, 3 songs in, and then Barbara and Adam die in the musical.
Yeah, you get. Let's see. No, yeah, it's the 3rd song.
Yeah, because it's Ready, Set, and then they die.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about the musical is that it's, sort of caters towards the audience. It is a very fourth wall breaking thing.
It is very fourth wall breaking, and you see Beetlejuice instantly in the play.
Not instantly.
Well, yes and no.
Well, he's not there until the end of the first song.
Yes.
And then he cuts in and talks to the audience, and he has his own song, and then he introduces the Maitlands.
Yes.
Whereas in the movie, you just get the Maitlands, and you're with them until they die.
Yes.
And Beetlejuice doesn't even get introduced until
he doesn't get introduced until the Maitlands move in.
Or not the Maitlands.
No. The Dietz move in.
The Dietz.
And they're in the Netherworld for. They say time moves differently, so they were in the Netherworld for like hours, and
no, they weren't in the Netherworld. They don't go to the Netherworld until the end of the play.
I'm talking
they're just
about the
dead.
movie.
Oh.
I'm talking about the movie. Because in the musical, they don't go to the Netherworld.
Right.
They just listen to Beetlejuice. But in the movie, they go to the Netherworld after finding the handbook for the recently deceased. And they're only there for a couple of hours, and they come back, and the Maitlands have moved in and everything. I mean, the Dietz have moved in.
This is confusing.
It is
This is confusing. This is getting confusing. We shouldn't try to do 2 things that are, parallel like this. We did, we did 2 movies before. This also isn't going to be an extended episode because we're supposed to just be talking about the musical because we didn't watch the movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
But also, Delia isn't the stepmom right away. She's the life coach for Lydia, trying to get her out of her goth phase and help her try to get out of her mourning of her mother's death, which I mean,
they did an interesting job with the characters. I
yeah.
mean, we should probably not harp too much on the differences here and just talk about the musical. I know this is a movie podcast, but uh, the the interesting thing about this is how much of a forward role Beetlejuice has in the play
Oh yeah.
as someone who interacts with the audience or at least speaks to the audience.
He's
Uh,
it's definitely like a Deadpool situation where there's a lot of fourth wall breaks.
yeah, it is. It is similar to that. It's less of like a It's less of like fourth wall breaks for the sake of funny and more like fourth wall breaks for the sake of like,
Storytelling.
yeah, exactly. Um, and yeah, because he directly introduces us to the Maitlands.
Mm-hmm.
He just
He introduces us to the Maitlands, and he's like,
they're gonna die.
they're gonna die."
uh, and also, I'm talking about differences here. I really want to just get on to talking about the play, but that his mom is the
Oh
the
yeah,
desk agent.
yeah.
That isn't a thing in the movie.
Yeah, that's not. And the thing is they have the same name because their caseworker in the movie was named Juno,
Yep.
and Beetlejuice's mother in the play is named Juno. So I'm assuming that's the correlation kind of there. I
It's
don't.
just they repurposed the character.
Yeah.
They repurposed the character as Beetlejuice's mother, who they kill at the end, or at least sacrifice to the snake,
Yes.
which is wacko. You
Oh
know,
my god, the
this
sandworm in the play was like, I don't know, it wasn't my favorite part, but it was one of my, like, one of the things that um was interesting.
well, I was gonna say about the special effects in general,
Oh man.
because the sandworm being a physical thing that literally busts in from like the side of the stage is one of the large set pieces, but it's not the only, and I feel like they really go hard with the way they dress up the house in the different colors, and then they
The
do it.
different sets, like the different furniture, everything, like when the Maitlands had their house, it looked like the house from the movie. Like the interior, everything looked the same.
Well, they go further than changing out the set because they managed to redo the set entirely with light. When
Yes.
Beetlejuice takes over, they have stripes of light that show the entire
Change.
house as the
Yep.
pinstripes.
But then they change everything around, like they change the furniture and everything.
Well, yeah, and that much is I feel like fairly run of the mill, but it's interesting to compare this with the other musical that we are most accompanied to, Hamilton, which has a fairly static set, with a lot of stuff that's sort of built into the walls and built into the background.
Yeah,
Um,
the difference between Hamilton and Beetlejuice is because the set changes so much in
Mhm.
Beetlejuice. In Hamilton, you're kind of left with the same set. They're just adding different furniture.
mhm, and moving one staircase around.
Yes.
Uh,
You're getting different points of view. Like you get the attic, you get the living
the
area,
roof.
you get the roof, you get the living area that changes 3 different times throughout the whole performance. You get a cemetery, you get
yeah, that's right. They have the outside section.
you get a hallway, that leads to the attic that you don't even
Mhm.
that you usually, like, when they do the universe song.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. That was where I was thinking it was outside. I just didn't recognize that set. I didn't recognize what that was supposed to
Yeah,
be.
I think it was supposed to be like, because Delia runs away into the, like, I guess the attic or a different room. They don't specify what the room was, but she runs away from Lydia.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought she was outside. I don't know. I mean, it's not super important. It's a Broadway musical. They don't necessarily, you have to be used to not being able to see every set from every angle.
Yes.
Your camera is static, and you only have a couple of backgrounds for the actors and actresses to work within.
I
Um,
also like where they, you know how Hamilton has the moving stage, how they had
yes,
they had the trap door.
yes, they did have they had more than one actually. I think they had the one in the center that moved and went up and down and was sort of the main stage there, but where Beetlejuice bursts out of the table, either I mean
Oh
I think he
yes,
was
yes.
just underneath.
Also in the seats that we were sitting in,
Hmm.
I could see him underneath
Under the table or under the stage?
under the stage, from underneath the
Really?
stage, from where we were sitting. I could see the striped suit,
Hmm.
and I could just see him, and I was like, oh, he's gonna pop out from somewhere.
Hmm. Yeah, and that was neat. Like I said, they really do as much as you can with special effects on a Broadway stage, because I mean, Beetlejuice the movie is one that goes, decently hard on the special effects. You have scenes where Beetlejuice is tiny. You have the whole sandworm sequence. You
Yes.
have, um, well, everything they do as ghosts. And I say special effects, I'm lumping in practical and computer effects here. And it's 1988. It's not like they had very much computer stuff to use,
Mm-hmm.
at least not as we understand it now. But yeah, it is not a faithful adaptation, but it is a very, very interesting one. And honestly, I would have to watch Beetlejuice again, and we were planning to do that, but unfortunately, circumstances transpired, and we could not. Uh, I would, I would almost say that I like the play more than the movie.
Oh, I don't know if I can say that.
No.
I don't know if I can say that. It
Well,
feels
if you
wrong.
if you said that, you'd be going against Tim Burton. Yeah,
Mhm.
you that'd be
I,
sacrilege for you.
I could not. I would not be able to say that the play is better than the movie.
See, I have no loyalties
See.
here.
I love Beetlejuice, and I loved this play. I think I love them both the same.
Uh huh. Yeah, and you
I
don't love either of your kids one more than the other. You'll never love one of your children more
Well,
than the
see,
other.
the thing is these are movies.
Uh huh.
This is a play, and that's a movie. I mean, I could never love one of my children more than the other.
Yeah. Okay. Uh.
That's just wrong.
Uh.
First of all,
It's wrong to say it,
whatever.
but
Let's get back to this.
I actually. Well, here's the thing, and this is actually a flawed metric. I would say that I would rather watch the play again than the movie again. But the play is a lot more
The play
difficult to
is
watch.
the
It's
play is more upbeat, and you get songs, and you're getting you're getting the theatrics of a play, but the movie is a movie. That's what makes you want to watch the play over and over again, because you're getting all these songs that we sing in the car, and you're getting all this other stuff, but with the movie you're just getting the same thing over and over again.
oh, this is a good use of songs, by the way. I
Yes,
know I
and
talked about that in Sweeney
we
Todd.
were talking about this before, how you said we heard there was a lot more songs that we haven't heard before.
Well, there's songs that we haven't heard before, but there's also a lot of dialogue, as opposed to Hamilton, where there's not. As opposed to Hamilton, where there are maybe 3 lines of dialogue that are not included in the
Yes,
songs.
but we also got some other songs that we never heard on the Beetlejuice album.
There was a little bit of that. When I say that they made good use of songs, though, I'm trying to compare to Sweeney Todd and the. I think it was Sweeney Todd that I talked about this on, which is that if you have a musical and you have a song in that musical, you want something to happen in that song. You want that song to further the plot. You want it to introduce you to characters. You want it to have some sort of sequence where it's not just, okay, we're going to have a song break now.
Hmm.
And I believe it was Sweeney Todd where I was talking about how the songs in that movie just feel like, okay, let's take a break and have a song now. Where the situation at the end of a given song is not any different than the situation at the beginning of the song. You
Mm.
know, take The Worst Pies in London, for example. They could have used the course of that song to introduce the two of them, and basically get him moved in.
I
Instead,
mean,
it's just
they kind of
I
did.
yeah, and this is why I am wondering if I'm remembering the right place where I critiqued this. Um, but
But let's stop talking about
you
Sweeney
know,
Todd. I know you're trying to
I'm
make
just
I
saying.
know you're trying to make a connection here, but we're
Well, let me finish making the connection then.
okay. Fine, go ahead, make your connection.
Uh, it these songs are used specifically to introduce characters. They're introduced specifically to move the plot along. They're introduced, or they're used, uh, you know, as everything but just a song break, because they take up a bulk of the runtime. Maybe not the majority of, but a bulk of. They are good ways to show the audience how things are getting on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and good ways to introduce these characters and what they are and what they're about. Um, so
What was your favorite part of the musical?
my favorite part, man, honestly, if we're going for shorter moments, the part where Beetlejuice comes to life, Beetlejuice, 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 and then they chase the
The
folks out of the
family.
house. Yeah, they chase the family out of the house, and then you see like the transition of it into, well, now it's Beetlejuice's house. Um, that was stellar because that's one of the parts where I was thinking about the effects more than anything. Um,
I
they've also got the giant hands and face of Beetlejuice that were up on sticks that were
Oh
like
yeah,
chasing them
we've
away.
come for your daughter, Chuck.
Yeah, that was a little bit much.
Also, the father in the musical does not really sing that much. He sings one line, and
Yep,
that's it.
yep. That I thought was interesting because when we would when we listened to the soundtrack before seeing the musical, I didn't know whose voice that was. Uh,
What in the creepy old guy?
yeah, and I know he has some lines in Deo. In
Yeah, he sings in the possession scene, and then he sings one line in creepy old guy, which I was like, okay.
I would always go, who the hell is that?
I mean, I get it. The play's supposed to be about Beetlejuice and Lydia and the Maitlands, but like, Delia had a whole song.
Yeah, well, he's not a singer. There's not nothing wrong with that. He's like, I mean, it's hard to compare not singing to singing, but he's like Washington, where Washington in his element does not rap, he sings. But when Washington is stressed, he raps. And that's just a nature of his character, and I feel like a nature of Charles's character is just that he's not a singer in this. Uh, and that's fine, although he does have a great voice. Um,
I liked the chase scene. I liked the scene where Delia, where not Lydia and Charles go into the netherworld.
oh, that was a wacky sequence.
Yeah,
Was that your favorite part?
it wasn't my favorite part. My favorite part has to be seeing how that beautiful sound was played out, because that was the one thing we wanted to see how it was going to be played out. Remember?
I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities in that beautiful sound. I am stunned they did not kill the Girl Scout. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but that was one of the things that stuck with me and that I wanted to say. I'm stunned they didn't kill the Girl Scout, and I'm glad you brought that song up. Um,
When they came back from intermission and you heard the song and you saw the Girl Scout trot across the stage, I was like, oh, this is it.
yeah,
This is
the
it. The
day you've been
moment,
waiting
the
for.
day we've been waiting for.
uh, but it's funny how we were introduced to this musical through the songs, and I know that's not something that's atypical, but it's interesting to see how they fit into the larger picture and the pieces that we were missing. Because especially towards the end of the play, especially the third act, there really aren't a lot of songs, and so we had, I feel, a pretty decent picture of how the play was going for the first and second acts based on what we had heard
Hmm.
on the album, and from there I had no idea what happened. And so we're getting into this, like, I know that they get married, and that's about it. That's that, and that and the finale song are like the only two songs out of the third act. Uh, so it's kind of it's I don't know. It was nice to see that. I know we never thought we were going to be able to see the musical because it
I
had shut
know.
down due to COVID.
Yeah. Well, the last time I saw that they were on tour, they were like in Korea or something.
Yeah, they were in Korea. They were doing showings there while we were still embroiled in COVID, and then they came back to Broadway, and apparently they're actually going on a U.S. tour after that.
That's cool.
Um, so we might be able to see it again. Uh, Honestly, though, I would love to see this again because of how well put together of a show it is. In fact, I liked this so much that if given the chance to see Hamilton or this again, it would be a really hard decision.
Well, the
Uh,
thing is that it would have to be the original cast of Hamilton. If it was the original cast of Hamilton, I would choose Hamilton.
well, if it's the original cast of Hamilton, it's a no-brainer. I'm sure if they brought back the original cast, those tickets would go for like,
Thousands of
yeah,
dollars.
exactly. Uh, you could go to the Super Bowl for less money. Um, and that's the thing about this is that it doesn't have necessarily a star-studded cast. It has a good cast, though. I certainly can't fault any of their performances. Um,
Eh.
you think so? What were you? What?
The girl who played Lydia, great
Oh yeah, she
voice,
had a great
like,
voice.
but terrible acting skills. I'm sorry. I was sitting there watching her, and I was just like, well, she was when we were doing the dialogue scenes, and I was like, man, she can't act.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. She like I was sitting there, and I'm like, okay, I know she can sing, but man, she cannot act.
I thought it was great.
I
I didn't.
mean,
I didn't
I,
have an issue with her performance at all. What was it that was there
I
anything in
don't
particular that you can
when
pick out?
when her and Charles had their interactions, it just seemed. I know it's supposed to seem like a flat, emotionless interaction, but it just seemed very dry acting,
Hmm.
in my opinion. I mean, anybody else can prove me wrong, but
I would love to see her in a different role to know that to know if she has the capability because it strikes me as something that would be intentional. Uh,
I don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't mean to just cover for her, but flip side of the coin, I think that that could have just been intentional.
It
Um,
could have been, but I mean, I felt like it was very flat acting.
and especially when she's with Charles in particular. Um, and in other sequences, I felt like she had some, you know, emotional breadth. Um, but yeah, she did have a great voice. Um, a great voice that I actually kind of wish they made better use of, because there were only a couple moments where
You could
she
actually
really
hear her.
held a
Yeah.
note or something like that. But in truth, this is not a musical where the music is center stage. I feel like
I think it's more centered around the comedy aspect of Beetlejuice's character.
oh yeah, well he's a great I don't know what the word is here, but he does a good job of being a narrator, but a funny one, and being the narrator of his own story. Um,
I think Beetlejuice made the show.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Not just in his acting, but also in the way he's written and the way he weasels his way into every scene, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's the centrism on him and his story, which I wish that the last act was not as big of a cluster as it is, because it kind of is, especially once they get back to the overworld, uh, with the marriage and killing Beetlejuice
Marriage.
and throwing him out, and then him coming back to life, and then
His mother getting eaten
his
by a
yeah his
sandworm.
mom coming in and wrecking house, and you know I I don't know, that all seems it all comes sort of out of nowhere. If there's anywhere the writing in this falls apart, it's right there
Mm.
within the last like 10 minutes. Um,
I also don't like the scene where they're getting Beetlejuice ready for the wedding, and like I don't know if they slick back his hair, if they cut his hair.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know what that was, but it looked like Beetlejuice had waves, and I was like, "What is going on?"
Oh, he's cool now.
I was
He's
like,
cool
"What is
Beetlejuice.
this?"
Yeah, no, he's got the dew on. I would need to see it again. But
It looked like Beetlejuice had waves. You know what waves are, right?
nope.
It's like
Like the things in the water, like at the beach.
look up hair waves.
Hair waves. No, I'm looking it up. Hair waves.
Like
Oh,
some
like that?
Yeah, that's what it
That did
looked
not
like.
look like that to me at all.
It looked like that to me.
Oh, I don't think he did. I don't think he had waves. Um, but yeah, I like how I like how they handle the plot points in the movie in the play, and I like
Mhm.
how they've changed it. I That's part of the reason I do like it better because despite for at least 2/3 of its runtime, I feel like it's a better put together story. Um,
I
The Maitland's going to the Netherworld and then getting sent back, as opposed to Beetlejuice being just a malevolent force from the very beginning. I feel like the latter is better. I feel like it's more entertaining, and I feel like it brings things together more
But I
closely.
also don't like how the Maitlands were like kind of like chickens throughout the play, you know?
Well, that's their point.
But I mean, like in the movie, they weren't like that.
In the movie, yeah, in the movie they weren't like that, but in the movie they're supposed to be what? They're just happy with their life as it is. They're not worried about moving on to the next thing, uh, and they just want their house because it is the thing that they've sort of coveted and put so much work into. Whereas in the play, they want their house because it's their space and they never got the chance to live in it. Uh, they never got the chance to start a family like they were supposed to. Whereas, which I feel like you could argue that's the better motivator. And the other thing is, in the play, that is a motivator. And in the movie, they're forced to stay in the house. They are told by Juno they'll have to stay there for 100 years or whatever, uh, like because them's the rules, as opposed to just going to the Netherworld and staying there. Um, which seems to imply which is what the play seems to imply would happen. You die and you go to the Netherworld, unless you choose not to, or someone steals your handbook. Or turns it into a puppet and then throws it in the fire. Uh,
Are there any kids in the audience?
not all puppet shows have happy endings, or sometimes puppets are sad. I think is what he says. Again, Beetlejuice kills it. He's the star of the show, obviously. Again, why I like the play, because they bring him into a more prominent role, and maybe that's sort of flanderizing the character. I've heard things say that, like, the biggest problem the subsequent Pirates of the Caribbean movies made was making Jack Sparrow the main character instead of a really interesting and funny supporting character. Uh, and maybe the play makes that mistake because they feel the need to tie his mother into it. They feel the need to sort of tie him into the greater picture instead of just letting him die at the end. Which would be really fitting if he died and then got eaten by the sandworm, because it's a show about death. Uh,
But instead, I guess he learns his lesson and goes and lives in the netherworld.
well, yeah, we'll get to see in the sequel what he does. um, but yeah, no, that's why I feel like with a little bit of rewrite to piss the audience off a little bit, I feel like the ending is too soft on the audience. Um,
I think they wanted to make it more lighthearted, so it's not really all about death because you get a new.
well, they warn you at the very beginning it's a show about death. Let someone die at the end. That actually matters.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, his mother died. Does she not matter?
no, because you meet her like 5 minutes before she dies. It's like, oh my god, my mom. Sandworm. And
Well,
Beetlejuice rides the sandworm in
you
to eat his mom.
you also do meet her in the Dead Mom song, not
Yeah, but you
Dead
don't know
Mom.
it's her mom. You don't know it's his mom. You just.
So what?
And even still, that is not that long before she gets eaten There is not like any time given to establish the character of Juno as someone the audience should care about. So it's just a pointless death. And I feel like if they did have the balls to kill Beetlejuice at the end of his own play, at the end of the show about death, that would be it would be almost like a moral. You know, it's like, yeah, everyone dies, even people who are already dead. And I mean, he does get to die. That's true. He gets to die like uh in the, in the real sense of the word, because they bring him back to life by marriage and then they kill him immediately. Uh, which is kind of crazy that they had just Lydia stab him, uh, or whoever it was, who ran him through with the art. Was he killed with the art?
I think it was Lydia.
It was. I mean, which is appropriate, but that is sort of a thing where you go, whoa, like that seems out of character, but also they could have just actually killed him. They could have just got shuffled him off of the immortal coil, uh, via sandworm. I don't know. It's make it less of a problem to not go to the netherworld, and make Juno less important as not Beetlejuice's mom, because why does that need to be a thing? Uh,
Well, he
and
does bring up his mom. I mean,
he does, he does, and in fact, that's true. It does come a little bit full circle in that respect, but I don't know. I don't think she needed to die, and I think I'm not necessarily saying Beetlejuice needs to die to make it a good show, but I feel like in a show about death, killing Beetlejuice is sort of fitting. I don't know. That's my rewrite of the third act. You guys can help fund my Beetlejuice the musical uh, version 2 coming soon by buying trading cards. You're just stone faced. What's on your mind? What are you thinking about? What's
okay.
your star rating?
5.
5? Ooh. This is for the musical specifically. So how are you all right, you said you liked them equally.
They
Uh,
both get 5s.
they both get 5s? Yeah, I'm going to give the musical a 5. I would have to rewatch the movie to know what to rate the movie.
Okay.
You alright? You just like, I'm losing you. You're fading.
Fine.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah.
We're losing Gloria. Gloria's gonna be, Gloria's, the door was open to the netherworld and Gloria's going netherworld and walking towards the door. Are you dead? Is this a show about death? I'm not funny. Alright, well, we're gonna wrap this up. Go ahead and comment if you've got something to say. And like and subscribe. And I think we're gonna do what, Spirit after this, and then we'll do a Bronx Tale because we still need to do that for your mother.
Yeah.
Well, we'll figure out how to do that, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.